at you with part 2 of my series about anger. Recapping from part 1, anger itself isn't a problem. Anger is an emotion that is very helpful and beneficial. It gives us all kinds of important information. The issue is most likely unprocessed anger. So today we're going to talk about how to process our anger, what to do with it, right? It's a helpful emotion. It's there to give us information. But a lot of the times, the kind of charge that it creates can feel like a little bit difficult to navigate. So typically, in order to process the anger into something that's helpful, we need to release the charge from the body. So we'll look at the process of processing the anger in 3 steps. Step 1 is just to simply feel it. So when anger comes up, rather than suppressing it or kind of overacting on it, we just want to pause and notice it. One thing that can really help you to notice anger is if you start getting used to where the sensation lives in your body. And of course, it can be different at different times, but typically, where does anger show up for you? What does it feel like? That can help you to identify really quickly. I'm angry. That's literally step 1. Step 2 is releasing the charge in order to regulate your nervous system so that you can get the discernment back that allows you to figure out what to actually do with the anger. So this step is super important, especially for people who tend to go into that more like overactivated fight-flight response. Releasing the charge of the anger can help things to kind of come down for you. So physically discharging anger is one of the best ways to deal with it because it's a mobilizing energy. So movement is usually going to be one of the kind of quickest, fastest, easiest ways to get it out. So that looks like things like shaking, right? Shake it out, hands, feet, as much of your body as you want to get engaged, depends how mad you are usually. Walking quickly, going for a brisk fast walk, doing a few wall push-ups, some squats, like just anything that discharges that energy. Even squeezing and releasing your fists can work. And then, if movement doesn't feel like the right fit for you, depending on circumstance or preference, you can also try sighing, like just big, deep, heavy sighs, like let it out verbally. Humming typically works to regulate the nervous system in most situations. And then you can also kind of vent it out, like talking into a voice note or journaling, something like that. And your breath. Breath was always one that we can go back to as well. So nice deep inhale through the nose and then exhale, nice long exhale out the mouth. Just repeat a few rounds of that can really help. And then once the charge is settled down and your nervous system is back online and regulated, then you can start to use the information that the anger is giving you. So a couple of questions you can ask yourself. What boundary feels like it was crossed? What value feels like it was violated? Or what feels like it was unfair, unsafe, or disrespected? And then ultimately, what needs to change about this? And then, do I need to speak up? Do I need to set a boundary? Do I need to step away from this situation? Do I need to not be here anymore, not enter this situation anymore? Things like that. So when you start to kind of pull all of that information together, that's where the information lies, right? What is it that bothered me about this? And what do I need to adjust in order to not continue living in a constantly triggering environment? Before we wrap up, I want to also acknowledge that there are times when we can't release that charge of anger right away, right? We're maybe like in the middle of a meeting, we're standing there face to face with somebody and we don't want them to see the anger that we're feeling. Certain social situations, sometimes like parenting, right? Especially with small children. So in those moments, the goal is not to suppress the anger. It's actually to just contain it until there's a time when you actually can express and release it in some of the ways that we were talking about. So, you want to communicate to your nervous system, like, I hear you. I hear that I'm angry. I'm not ignoring this, but I will process it when the space is available to do so. So sometimes just simply saying in your head, like, I'm angry. I know I'm angry and I'm going to deal with it later. That's just enough to let your nervous system know this isn't burrowing in anywhere. We're going to address it afterwards. And then some small things that can help in the moment. So take a nice slow breath and unclench your jaw, right? Release your jaw, relax your tongue. So a lot of the times we don't realize that just even kind of like dropping the tongue to the bottom of the mouth can help. Press your feet into the ground. That grounds you. Notice the whole environment around you. So take the tunnel vision out, expand into looking at the whole room that you're in. Press your fingertips together. So this, or even like that kind of thing, can help. Lengthen your spine, just noticing your posture, rounding your back, physically opening your body up so that it's not in that angry, usually anger turns into protection. So just being mindful of how we're sitting. Name the anger and make a note to process it later. So sometimes you are able to say, grab your phone and write yourself a little note. I was really mad about this today. Depending on what type of learner you are, you might find that actually really helpful. And then when you're able to excuse yourself, get into a different environment where you are able to let it out a little bit more, right? Go to the bathroom, step outside, take a couple of deep breaths in a different room, that kind of thing. All of these can allow you to acknowledge the feeling, contain the charge until you're able to work through it. Overall, the goal is to let the anger inform and move you. So we're going to feel it, release the charge, and then decide how to move forward productively. Stay tuned for part 3 that I've decided to add on since I was kind of pulling all my thoughts together, because anger can also show us some things that, rather than just showing us our boundaries and our values and what matters to us, sometimes it can show us the things that matter to us, but we're feeling angry seeing it in somebody else because it's something that we've repressed within ourselves. Stay tuned for a part 3 on that.